this reading today in the gospel is during a time in which Nicodemus, the Pharisee, is meeting with Jesus, and he's trying to understand who Jesus is. There's something about Jesus that what he's speaking, what he's doing with these miracles is saying that he's from God, but Nicodemus is still trying to understand. And if you've ever seen the show The Chosen, it's actually a very beautiful, beautiful episode in which you can see this kind of lived out. But it's this conversation that goes back and forth, and this is where Jesus says those words, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that whoever believes in him might not perish, but might have eternal life. You used to see this at sports events, John 3:16. And this is a continuation of that back and forth. And the thing here that's important is that Jesus is saying he's the one who comes from above. He thinks those things that are above versus getting stuck down here. He sees deeper than sometimes we see with our eyes right here. And he's inviting us to have this faith that's able to see that God can do amazing things, even though it seems like there's walls that are put up. And someone who shows this in a particular way is this saint that we celebrate today, St. Peter Chanel. Has anyone heard of him before? I didn't hear about him until like a couple years ago. But he was a priest who felt a call to leave his home and to go all the way, I think he was from France, to go all the way to this little island in the middle of the Pacific and to try to bring Jesus there. And when he got there, do you think people are excited to see him? No. They're like, who are you? He's like, I've come to tell you some good news. Do you think they wanted to hear the good news? No. They were just kind of like, well, we don't want to hear that. We're fine. We like what we have. We like worshiping, the gods of this island. We don't need a Jesus. And he kept telling them about the love of God. And they kept getting annoyed and annoyed. And do you think people were listening? No. There were hardly any people that actually started to follow Jesus throughout all of his time there. And they would make fun of him. They would be rude to him. They'd walk by in the marketplace and kind of push him over. And how do you think he responded? Do you think he started beating him up? He responded with forgiveness. He responded with kindness. He responded with this generous love. And people kept pushing him around so much that finally the chief of the island said, well, let's just get rid of him. And so they killed him. And it seems like his whole life was a waste. He left everything to go to this island in the middle of nowhere to try to bring Jesus to them. And pretty much most of the people there said, nope. And they got so annoyed with him that they killed him. But St. Peter Chanel had those eyes that are from above. He had those eyes of faith. And he persevered. And he said, even if I don't see any fruit, I know that God is at work here. And I'm going to keep doing God's will. I'm going to keep following, even if it seems like I'm experiencing defeat and defeat and defeat and defeat. I'm not going to turn back. I'm going to keep loving the people here, no matter what. If they spit on me, they did that to Jesus. If they don't accept me, they did that to Jesus. And I'm going to just keep responding with love and mercy. But you know what happened after he died? One of the chieftains, and I think it was one of the very ones that was instigating him being put to death, he started to have a conversion of heart. He started to realize the way that this man lived his life in kindness, in compassion, and sharing the love of God, and even the powerful witness of his martyrdom to say, even if I die, I know that God will still be victorious. And I know that there's a seed planted on this island that will grow into Christianity. And that chieftain remembered that. And he started to open his heart to realize he was right. That saint that we thought was a loser, and we killed him to get him out of the way, he was actually right. And this chieftain started going around the island telling people about Jesus, saying, we need to turn our hearts towards him. And guess what happened? That whole island converted. That whole island came to Christ. And not only that, the people from that island then started to go to other islands, and they started to share the love of God. And pretty soon that whole area came to know Christ, because there was one man who was willing to leave everything and experience rejection his whole life, but he persevered knowing that Jesus is always more powerful. He had eyes that were from heaven, not from here. So it's a good reminder for us to always do the right thing. Always do the thing that is true, that is good, that is beautiful. Even if you get pushback, even if it seems that no one else is following you, even if it seems like you're running towards the right goal and everyone else is running towards the other goal, there's that peer pressure to say, well, I'm just going to give up and just follow the rest of the crowd. St. Peter Chanel shows us that we need to always do the right thing no matter what. Even if we're swimming against the current, even if we get made fun of. Because ultimately, when we say yes to God and we follow him, there always will be a blessing. There'll always be that seed that will go into the ground, and we might not even see the fruit of it. But we can trust that Jesus is trustworthy. And because he rose from the dead, everything else can change.